Well, I am honored to get a chance to sit down with the President and Technical Director of HPD, that is Honda Performance Development, David Salters. David, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well now that I get a chance to speak with you. We are right outside of the Detroit River, just next to the track in downtown Detroit at the Detroit Grand Prix, and we're watching the 2023 spec Indycars roll around, and it's the 2023 spec 2.2 liter twin turbocharged V6 powering those, and more than half of them are Honda power. That, in a general sense, has been the same spec engine for a while now, hasn't it?
It has, yes, it has. Yep, quite a number of years.
So what is it like to have such a mature engine running? It's just been continuously developed. Are you still finding areas to improve performance, or is it just really getting at the nitty-gritty now?
Yeah, the cars get faster every year. So what happened is there is a homologation table for these engines. So you're allowed to work on 4 or 5 things, really at this point to keep costs a bit more under control. But of course it's a competition. So we're here to try and win, and so you will work on the areas that you can work on, that you're allowed to work on. So there's some areas inside the engine, typically around the combustion system, that we can work on. So we will work on those. And then also we have an active aerodynamics program where we help the teams understand where we can the aero, whether that's from a testing or a CFD point of view. And we also use that data to populate our driver in the loop simulator. So you have aero maps, so you imagine it's like a flight simulator, but racing cars are ride height dependent, especially ones that have underfloors that generate downforce and stuff. So you're trying to understand all those dependencies, you're trying to do it in simulation in the DIL, so we help there. Yeah, so we have a vehicle dynamics program that helps with driving the loop simulator. We have an aero program that helps the teams understand stuff like that where we can. And then we have the engine development program where we can. And we try and work on it and see if we can find any advantages.
Wow. Yeah, it certainly isn't just engine, but powertrain is all Honda, whereas vehicle dynamics and aero, there's some partnerships with Dallara and the other folks, yeah?
Yeah. Mainly Dallara manufacture chassis and all the aero parts, and then we with the teams try and help understand how to use them best.
Gotcha, yes. But there has been, on the engine side, there has been some developments recently. Brand new for this year, you are now running fully renewable fuel. That's not as big of a change as some might think, because you guys, Indycar ran E85 prior to that. But what were the learnings that had to happen going to a fully renewable fuel?
Yeah, so it is actually, it's a pretty big change. And to the credit of Indycar and us helping and trying to make sure we take that technology forward, and Shell have done a superb job. That's been introduced this year. It's 100% renewable, and it actually has a little over 60% reduction in life cycle, which is the important bit, the sort of the whole life cycle.
And that's life cycle carbon output.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the bit that's actually the bit that matters. So 60% less CO2 on a life cycle basis. And it's actually a big step. In fact, it's leading the world in terms of racing renewable fuels. So that's pretty impressive.
You guys were ahead of Formula One to start getting downforce from the floor again, and now you guys are ahead of Formula One getting a renewable fuel.
Yeah, so I mean, they're different. It's horses for courses sort of stuff. F1 is the pinnacle, but it's awesome that we've taken that technology and we've helping champion that technology, because it is a huge reduction in life cycle CO2. And there's good learning. We do this to develop our people. Honda's very authentic with it. We have a factory up at Santa Clarita, 250 people, all Honda associates, etc. So we do it to develop our people and technology. This is a bit of both. So we are developing technology to look at sort of low carbon fuels. How do they combust? all that sort of stuff. How do you combust them cleanly, efficiently? And we have simulation tools. So we have what you call chemical kinetic reaction simulation tools. So
that sounds fancy.
It does sound fancy.
It sounds a little like villainous too. Is there a layer in a volcano where you do that?
There is.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah. On the volcano. Yeah, very good.
True. Now the basically, so you have CFD that models all the fluid flow.
Computer fluid dynamics.
Yeah.
Or computational.
Fluid. So that models all the fluid flow, where the air's coming in, where the air's going out. And then with computers getting really, 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 really big and fast, you can add a layer now where you put all the chemical reactions in.
Really?
So there's thousands and hundreds of thousands. So as well as it looking at the air coming in and it all mixing and the fuel coming in and that mixing, you can actually put the combustion on top meaningfully from about 10 years ago. And the computers are big enough now that you can run all the fluid dynamics and you can put on top of that all the chemical kinetics, so all the reactions.
Wow.
Because you imagine when fuel happens, there's like, you reach a certain energy state and there's all these sub-reactions, thousands of them, and you can model that now. So we actually have the in-house capability to do that. And so using those techniques, we've been able to understand the fuel, how to combust it the best for performance, efficiency, and all that sort of stuff. So there's a whole layer of simulation underneath. But the nice thing is, you have to make models and understand this new type of fuel. So that's like a whole load of learning that sets us up for the future, really.
This is actually a good time to mention that you actually have your PhD in combustion. So
apparently so. It's a long, long time ago.
Back when the...
I can barely add up these days, but there you go.
Well, that's what's really incredible, because this is now a fully renewable fuel, but it actually is also still E85 technically, is it not?
It is.
Yeah.
So it's 85. So E85, what is E85? So 85% of it is ethanol, and 15% of it is a gasoline-based, whatever it is, that's put on top of it. Very
Concoction.
Good. Yeah, well, just could be standard gasoline that's added to it, or it's blended. But so 85% is ethanol-based, alcohol, and 15% is gasoline-based, hydrocarbon-based. So, which is sort of good. It's good. But actually, the difference for this fuel is... So some ethanol comes from corn, what they call first generation, all that sort of stuff. The smart thing, what Shell is doing here, it's what they call second generation. It has nothing to do with food. It's all made from waste.
So it's corn waste?
Or some form of plant waste, woody waste.
Got it.
Stuff like that. And the clever bit is, A, that's waste, so stuff that would just get thrown away. So that's really good. And then there's other clever technology in there, so that when you make it, you get energy back, and you can use that energy to power the process. So then that keeps reducing the CO2.
Oh, power the process of producing the fuel?
Yeah, because you've got to ferment. You've got to ferment the alcohol and stuff. That takes heat, but through some of that extra waste, you can generate the heat, blah, blah, blah. So then you further reduce the CO2 because you're not actually having to burn things to make heat. You gas.
Really interesting. And that goes back to that life cycle part.
So that's the life cycle. So they keep driving. So the clever bit is it's second generation, very advanced ethanol that's made from non-food substances. And then the process is very clever to minimize the energy and stuff. And then the really smart bit that makes it 100% renewable is the 15% of what would be gasoline, which normally has sat in the earth for thousands of years. That's been manufactured, synthesized, etc., out of a renewable source.
Interesting.
So the whole thing is then renewable. Obviously Shell can give a much better explanation, so I'm probably not doing it justice, and it's credit to them.
But that's a really great summary to help us, and that's really interesting. But from the Honda point of view, ultimately you have to think about specific heat, specific energy. So how do you combust this stuff in a way that is robust to your engines and also produces lots of power?
So there's two bits that are really smart here. So Shell have synthesized this fuel basically, so it's pretty similar to normal E85.
No kidding.
Very similar, yeah. So
and then that's in terms of the way it combusts, and it's like
it's typical
fuel-air ratio, those kinds of things.
Octane number and all the things. It's very similar to the point that it's pretty much drop-in.
Wow.
So hats off to them. And then of course there are some minor differences, and we accommodate those minor differences. And so, and how many races in are we now? 7 races in. Yeah. It's about that.
Quite a few.
Yeah. Touch wood. So far so good. So well done to everyone involved. But there's been a lot of stakeholders helping here. So hats off to Indycar. We were we did some work with Argonne National Labs. They have a whole group that looks at life cycle analysis. So we also, prior to this, have been trying to educate ourselves more about life cycle analysis and carbon footprint. So we also knew that this landscape was very important. You can see within some Honda press stuff, there's some, you've got to look at different solutions to sustainability. So sort of renewable fuels, low carbon fuels, all that sort of stuff is interesting. So we'd sort of gone away to do some homework to find out about life cycle analysis, all that sort of stuff, through Argonne National Labs, which are experts in this. So we also tried to bring some of that learning to the table so that we knew we were going all in a good direction with Indycar and with our competitors, etc.
I have a feeling I know the answer to this question, but with this fully renewable fuel, are you making more power or less power?
About the same.
About the same, yeah. Because you said it was pretty much drop in. It was amazing how similar it was. Yeah. Now, does this have any applications? There's a lot of Honda engineers that start in the road car business, spend time in the racing side, come back to the road car business. Is there any learning about renewable fuels that you can take to the production cars?
Yes. So we've learned how to model it. So we're this chemical kinetic reaction sort of stuff.
The Honda Volcano.
So the good thing is we've developed learning on how to model it, what it does, understanding it, basically understanding its characteristics. And how to exploit them as well, how to make the most of them in terms of fuel economy, performance, etc. So there's good learning there. What we do now, who knows? But we've got that parcel of learning, which is the reason we go racing, to be honest.
Well, and there's another big change coming next year, and that is a hybrid system being added to the car, and that's going to function as a push-to-pass system largely. Is that correct?
That's true.
What is going to change about your powertrain there?
Okay, so the ICE, internal combustion engine, will remain as standard. And actually we are collaborating with Ilmor and GM to make the hybrid system. So currently we are making the energy store, and Ilmor and GM are looking after the MGU type stuff.
The motor generator.
Yeah, and we're working together, which is quite delightful. Normally we're trying to beat each other to death on the track, and actually we've got a load of smart people who are just working together.
Yeah.
And we're trying to come up with a very lightweight, compact, robust hybrid system, which is great learning for engineers. Our engineers want to work on that. It's electrification. We're helping write the software for it. It'll be a standard system, but we're developing it really. And we're helping project manage that program. So we're co-developing that with our colleagues and competitors, but in this case colleagues, which is lovely. So actually there's a whole load of learning there.
Oh wow.
Which is why Honda goes racing. People and technology.
Well, Indycar has been on a nice big continuous upswing, and it seems like their future looks pretty darn bright as well. Honda seems quite committed to Indycar for at least the next little while, yeah?
So we have all our commitments, yes, and the racing is awesome, and anyone went to watch the Indy 500 or Long Beach, noticed a lot of interest. It's good, isn't it? The racing is stunning, I think.
It's hard. It's hard to beat these days.
Yeah.
Last question. Prior to your stint at Honda, you actually worked in Formula One, the pinnacle, as you said, of motorsport. How has it been transferring from V10s to V8s to hybrids to Indycar, renewable fuel, and now hybrids?
So I'm an engineer. I do this for the engineering, and the good thing about racing, your timescales are ridiculous. So you do a lot of really cool engineering in a very short time. It can be a bit stressful at times, but there's always a challenge. So there's always a challenge. Actually, if you look at what happens at HPD, we do Indycar, and then we do IMSA GTP, the new hypercars, which are amazing. We're fully hybrid. They also have a renewable.
The ARX06 is quite something.
I'm very biased, but it's amazing. So, and it was fast out of the box, which is very rewarding. We're involved with the powertrain, we were involved with the vehicle dynamics, the aerodynamics.
Yeah,
so,
congratulations on the Daytona 24-hour win, I should say.
And we have an amazing partner, Orica, Christoph and the guys there, Oog, and we all work just as a team. That's the way to get these things done. So, and then also HPD, we do touring cars, Civics, we do Baja Ridgeline, we do F4, so we do all this stuff. So actually I was in F1, which was amazing. I did that for 15 years. And then had the opportunity for a change, and the diversity has been brilliant to see all these different racing things. But whether it's F1, whether it's HPD, the real delight of what we do is the people we get to work with. You get to work with some really smart, really motivated people who all want the same thing. That's actually the hidden privilege of working in racing, is actually working with all the people. I think it's true with any business, to be honest, but it's probably very true with racing. You've got a load of really motivated, driven people who want to get it done, and you're part of that. And actually to feel part of that is quite special, actually. That is the delight of going racing, and particularly with Honda. Honda has a lovely way of doing it, has been doing it for its whole company history. And there's a real respectful culture inside Honda, so it's very delightful place to go racing.
Yes. Well, I lied. I have one more question. What do you miss most about England? The tea, the fish and chips, or something else?
My family.
Oh.
So I miss my mum and dad and stuff.
Okay.
Apart from that, and
quite an immature answer.
Yeah. So miss the family because it's a long way away, but don't miss the weather at all. But miss the family.
Yes, right. Because, as everyone knows, the United States of America has the best tea. David Salters, thank you so very much for your time. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. And thank you to all our fans who support us and follow us and make all this happen. So thank you very much to all the fans out there.